And in consequence, dogs every effort made, and chaos waits on every cosmos formed. In each success, a seed of failure lurks.
Well, Sri Aurobindo has given us these symbols in many, many passages in Savitri. So, and in consequence, something that's trivial or without worth, without any worth. But dogs here is an interesting word because it's usually tracking or followed like a dog and often with hostile intent. So we see that this inconsequence is dogging every effort that we make. And even chaos waits on every cosmos form. Interesting word, very interesting word. Chaos waits on every cosmos form because things fall apart. I got in consequence, dogs, every effort made?
Yes,
You got that, huh?
yes.
And chaos waits on every cosmos form. And I mentioned the dying of stars
Dying of stars.
and the birth of suns. So chaos is in the cosmos also.
Right.
But now we hear that in each success, a seed of failure lurks, because that's when we're in our lowest consciousness of body, life, and mind. If we can get into the spiritual realms of consciousness, we will never see a failure lurking in a seed of success. But this is now Sri Aurobindo, in the words of Ashwapati. He's seeing what we are like here. So you can continue now.
He saw the doubtfulness of all things here, the incertitude of man's proud, confident thought, the transience of the achievements of his force.
Oh, so we have three things here: doubtfulness, incertitude, and transience. Very, very important. So everything here we is filled with doubtfulness.
Yeah.
We don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. We don't know when this friend or that beloved is going to pass away. We don't know anything. Everything here is doubtful. And then he speaks of the incertitude, the uncertainty of man's proud, confident thought. Because thought is confident, but it doesn't know anything. Thought has nothing to do with knowledge. So it's an incertitude of man's, and a little bit cutting here, man's proud, confident thought. And even the transience, the impermanence of the achievements of his force. Because even the greatest things, now this guy Jurgen at Matrimandia tells me that in 50 years, so much will be falling apart in the Matrimandia.
Yeah.
That it will take crores to repair everything. And he studied it very deeply, and he's absolutely certain about it. And you can see even in the walkways, paths are cracking. Uh, Little stones that they use for, um, artistic beauty are cracked or fallen off on the pathways. So we see this transience of the achievements of man's force. Now, he's going to tell us something else in the next lines.
A thinking being in an unthinking world, an island in the sea of the unknown. He's a smallness trying to be great, an animal with some instincts of a god, his life a story too common to be told, his deed a number summing up to naught, his consciousness a torch lit to be quenched, his hope a star above a cradle and grave.
Well, okay, this is the current humanity. This is the humanity in which we are living. So we have to look at it very carefully. Man is a thinking being, but he's living in an unthinking world. There are so many negatives in this world. There are people doing so many things without thought. Anger, killing, so many negatives. And therefore man is an island in the sea of the unknown. And I think I've read to you many times the unknown.
Yeah.
That the unknown is not the unknown, and it need not remain the unknown for us. So now he's going to be even stronger in telling us what humanity is like. You have to remember, I've been working with Sanjana and just finished a session with her in which she's beating with her fingers the lines, and therefore she is not dropping the word at the end. You dropped naught, but you didn't drop the others, so you're making good progress. So mankind is the smallest, trying to be great. He's still an animal. Mother often speaks of the animal man, with some instincts of a god. But his life is a story too common to be told. Even his deeds are a number that sums up to nothing. His deeds a number, summing up to naught. His consciousness a torch, lit to be quenched, to be extinguished. His hope is a star. What is it, a star? It's above a cradle when he's born and a grave when he dies. And now some positive lines.
And yet a greater destiny may be his, for the eternal spirit is his truth.
Yes, because we are the divine, hidden only behind the veils that we have in front of us. So definitely a greater destiny may be ours, because the eternal spirit is our truth. And then
he can recreate himself and all around and fashion new the world in which he lives. He, ignorant, is the knower beyond time. He is the self above nature, above fate.
Good, well read. He can recreate himself. Yes, and that's all that Mother keeps telling us. Recreate yourself. Don't live in that small personality with your small family and friends and desires, needs, necessities, because you can recreate yourself and everything around you and even fashion the new world in which you live. So there's a colon there. He, man, ignorant, is the knower beyond time. He is the self above nature, above fate. So Sri Aurobindo tells us in the Gita, the self is our self-existent being. And the self is being, not a being. So the self is being. Why? Because we are all the world ourselves. When the divine poured himself into this creation, he poured himself into everything, in the stone, in the worm, in the soil, in the water. So man, ignorant, is the knower beyond time. And we are the self also, above nature and above fate. Now, what does he say next? Now he's back to Ashwapati.
His soul retired from all that he had done.
So everything that he has done so far is not enough. But don't forget, we are in Canto 5. And
Yeah.
in Canto 3, he was learning so much. And now when he says that his soul retired from all that he had done, well, he knows that there is much more to do. And we are going to see in future cantos that he realizes that he cannot do everything himself anymore. And that is what initiates his call to the divine to bring down Savitri. In the Mahabharata, of course, it's just he's childless and he implores the divine to bring him a child. But here, Savitri is the daughter of the sun, and she has mission to save. So let's carry on.
Hushed was the futile din of human toil, forsaken wheeled the circle of the days. In distance sank the crowded tramp of life.
So because he has retired from everything he had done, then he doesn't even hear the futile din of human toil because it's hushed. Futile, of course, is unimportant, pointless. And
Yeah.
din is loud, discordant sounds. Din. And therefore, the circle of the days wheeled forsaken. And even the crowded tramp of life sank in the distance. Now you're back again. So now I have to go to page 79. And we'll start there. Okay. The silence.
The silence was his sole companion left.
And of course, this is what Sri Aurobindo tells us that we must do, is we must develop the silence within. Peace, calm, all those things will come, but unless there is a silent state, and he tells us in the letters on yoga, that there is either no movement of the mind or vital, or else a great stillness, which no surface movement can pierce or alter. And silence is therefore the absence of all motion, of all thought, or other vibration of activity. So the silence is Ashwapati's sole companion, alone, the only companion that he has left. And now he's going to tell us what's going to happen. Continue again.
Impassive he lived, immune from earthly hopes, a figure in the ineffable witness's shrine, pacing the vast cathedral of his thoughts, under its arches, dim with infinity, and heavenward brooding of invisible wings.
Okay, that one needs a little work from you.
Yeah.
So he is impassive now. He is not at all affected or concerned about anything in the world because he has achieved that silence, the silence that Buddha achieved, the silence that many of the ascetics receive. When they go into that spiritual realm of consciousness, they don't even want to come back
Mm.
because the peace is so powerful. And what do they have to, why do they have to be concerned about earthly hopes? So he is immune now, protected against, totally protected against earthly hopes. And he's impassive. There's no emotion. He's unmoved. He's calm. He's serene. So impassive, he lived immune from earthly hope. And you don't want to drop hopes again. It's just a comma. A figure in the ineffable witness shrine. And here when you have that mark after the S of witness, we don't mention the plural. A figure in the ineffable witness shrine.
Okay.
Not witnesses.
Right.
It's just that
Witness.
punctuation tells us just witness. So he's a figure there. He's in the ineffable. Ineffable is indescribable, unutterable.
Mm-hmm.
Witness shrine. So he's in this shrine of the ineffable witness, and he's a figure in it. And what is he doing? He's pacing the vast cathedral of his thoughts. Cathedral. Cathedral, we know, is an immense church.
Yeah.
Under its arches, dim with infinity, and heavenward brooding of invisible wings. We heard about those invisible wings. We heard that about Savitri, that she had that beautiful bird that always hovered over her. Birds are usually the symbol of the soul. Sri Aurobindo tells us in symbols. So, and heavenward brooding. Now, brooding, of course, we know what when a hen broods over the eggs, it keeps them warm. But here we have a figurative sense of brooding, which means meditating or dwelling deeply on something.
Mm.
And I think that's more correct definition for this line. This thinking deeply, or meditating deeply, and this brooding of invisible wings. So we don't know what they are yet, but we're going to find out, and we have a few more minutes, so we'll go through some more lines.
A call was on him from intangible heights. Indifferent to the little outpost mind, he dwelt in the wideness of the Eternal's reign.
So now we are seeing that Ashwapati Sri Aurobindo has gone so far above the human mind that he's indifferent to this little outpost of the mind, this small brain. Outpost is the settlement position of the mind. And not only that, but he's now dwelling in the wideness of the eternal frame.
His being now exceeded thinkable space. His boundless thought was neighbor to cosmic sight. A universal light was in his eyes. A golden influx flowed through heart and brain. A force came down into his mortal limbs, a current from eternal seas of bliss. He felt the invasion and the nameless joy.
So he's having the experience of the cosmic self. And it's so beautiful, this force that came down, this power and motion, and even this golden influx, this flowing in through his heart and brain, and the universal light and this boundless thought was neighbor to cosmic sight. And lastly, a current from eternal seas of bliss, Ananda again. He felt the invasion and the nameless joy. So we have to read through the whole thing.
Yeah. And in consequence, dogs every effort made, and chaos waits on every cosmos formed. In each success, a seed of failure lurks. He saw the doubtfulness of all things here, the incertitude of man's proud, confident thought.
Incertitude.
The incertitude of man's proud, confident thought, the transience of the achievements of his force. A thinking being in an unthinking world, an island in the sea of the unknown. He is a smallness trying to be great, an animal with some instincts of a god, his life a story too common to be told, his deeds a number summing up to naught, his consciousness a torch lit to be quenched, his hope a star above a cradle and a grave. And yet a greater destiny may be his, for the eternal spirit is his truth. He can recreate himself and all around, and fashion new the world in which he lives. He, ignorant, is the knower beyond time. He is the self above nature, above fate. His soul retired from all that he had done. Hushed was the futile din of human toil. Forsaken wheeled the circle of the days. In distance sank the crowded tramp of life. The silence was his sole companion left. Impassive he lived, immune from earthly hopes, a figure in the ineffable witness shrine, pacing the vast cathedral of his thoughts,
Cathedral.
Pacing the vast cathedral of his thoughts, under its arches dim with infinity and heavenward brooding of invisible wings. A call was on him from intangible heights. Indifferent to the little outpost mind, he dwelt in the wideness of the Eternal's reign. His being now exceeded thinkable space. His boundless thought was neighbor to cosmic thought. A universal light was in his eyes. A golden influx flowed through heart and brain. A force came down into his mortal limbs, a current from eternal seas of bliss. He felt the invasion and the nameless joy.
Good reading.
Thank you.
See you next week. Namaste.
Namaste.